Okay, hello Powell family, and welcome to day 1 of your active recovery. For today, you're gonna need just a soft, comfortable surface. We're gonna be on the floor for most of the work today. So if your mat is really thin, maybe you wanna grab a blanket, something to put under the knees for support. You're also gonna want a yoga strap, or if you don't have one, like a woven belt, a set of bricks, and a foam roller. Today is all about restorative and letting go of all the junk we've been building up over the past 2 days. So whenever you're ready, meet me on your mat. We're actually going to start with a gentle cat-cow just to kind of decompress the spine. So tuck the toes under, get a little opening through the bottom of the feet, and then rounding the spine, pull the chin and the hips towards the belly button. And as you do this, really exaggerate it. Press the floor away through the hands and through the knees. And then allow the belly button to fall towards the floor. Tilt your tailbone up, take your gaze forward. So a little decompression through the spine, nice and easy. So it's not going to be yoga inspired, or yoga, I should say. It's more yoga inspired. So don't worry about the breath or moving with the breath, but focus on just how it feels in the body. If your low back hurts, maybe you want to stay in the rounded spine a little longer. If you feel really good, maybe you want to stay in the cow. So we're finding that little micro back bend. Allowing the abdominals to stretch and open up. Maybe just one more here. And then untuck the toes. Go ahead and grab both yoga bricks. We're going to place them on their tallest setting, about shoulder distance apart. We're going to make sure we put the tip of the elbow right in the center of the blocks. And then we're going to walk the knees back. So the knees are far enough back that when we lean back, the hips are going to be over the knees and not behind the knees in a child's pose. So keep walking the knees back till the hips are right over the knees. Clasp the hands together and then allow the head to fall beneath the chest and the arms. You might already feel a nice big opening here in the chest, but we're slowly going to work the thumb towards the nape of the neck and start to feel it through the triceps and through the chest. And then if you need more, start to point your toes down your fingers down the spine and really deepen that stretch. Now, this is very yin inspired, so we're going to let the blocks do all the work. So if you notice you're holding tension in the upper body to support yourself, try to just let go, keep melting towards the floor, and let the bricks hold you up. And let gravity keep pushing you towards the mat to find a deeper opening through the chest and the triceps. And then just breathe through. This can be pretty intense, so really try to stay really grounded and focused. The longer we sit here, the more our mind is going to want to bail because the shoulders and triceps are going to start to really scream. But that is how we start to unleash and unlock any tension in the joints. So allow yourself to find that stillness and just to settle. To come out of this, slowly bring the hands up so the fingertips are facing the ceiling. Take a breath. Let the hands keep going so the fingertips are facing the wall in front of you. Take a breath. And then press through the elbows to slowly come out. Nice and easy, because that can be pretty intense in the shoulders. And then release or roll out anything you might need. We're going to do a nice big opening through the outside of the hip. So when it's available to you, come into a down dog. So piking the hips high up to the sky. Keep driving the chest back towards the knees. Take your gaze forward. We're going to bring the right knee right behind the elbow. Sorry, I just lost my earbud. Hold on. We're going to bring the right knee right behind the elbow. Then we're slowly going to bring the right knee to the left. Flex the foot and kick it out to the side. So you really start to feel that hip opening. I'll get the music back here in a second. So as you do this, a couple things. Make sure that the right foot is nice and flexed and your left foot did not rotate out. Those 5 toes are still pointing forward and your chest and your hips are square towards the mat. So we don't want to open up to the side. We want to stay grounded towards the floor. If you need to, you can let the left knee melt and then work the right foot out more if staying lifted is a little too much. but really focus on opening the outside of that hip. Take a couple more breaths here. We're in this plank. And then glide the knee back towards the left elbow, to the right, and then step back to down dog. Maybe pedal out the feet. On your next breath, just bring the right foot up to the sky, three-legged dog. We're gonna bend the knee, open the hip, and circle the ankle a couple times in each direction. And then slowly release, bring the feet back down to the floor. Bring your feet together so they're touching, and then slowly lower onto the knees. Keep your toes tucked under and make sure that little tiny pinky toes tucked under as well. So you might need to manipulate it using the hands. We're gonna open up through the bottom of the feet. We do a lot of jumping in this program, so the feet take a lot of force. So we're gently gonna open up through the tissue in the bottom of the foot. So start to walk yourself back. If this is enough, you feel the bottom of the foot, it feels really tight, feel free to stay here. But the more you can sit upright and sit completely on your heels with these toes tucked under, the more you're gonna feel through the arch of the foot. So make sure your toes are tucked under, your hips are driving towards the heel, and you feel a big stretch through the arch of your foot. It can be real intense the longer we sit here, but when we're constantly pounding on the bottom of the feet, they need a little love. So you might feel this through the toes, that might be what you're focusing on most, but we really want to focus on stretching the bottom of the foot. So if we can mentally push past the toes and focus on just finding that stillness, and remember, it gets to be too much, stay in the stretch, just get some body weight out of the feet if it ends up being too much sitting back the entire time. And maybe you even need to grab 2 bricks and use that to kind of lift up. Whatever you need to do to support yourself in this pose, and then just try to breathe. Take one more breath here. Slowly work your way out of it. That was just like that shoulder one. It was pretty intense. So release the feet. Maybe scrunch the toes. Maybe you need to stomp the feet out, whatever you need to release all that through the feet. We're gonna flow through that whole thing on the left side. So come back to your down dog. Take your gaze forward. Float your left foot up. As you shift forward to the plank, bring your left knee to the left elbow. Glide it over to the right elbow. Flex your foot and kick it out to the side. Once it's into the side, let's check our alignment. Right toes are facing forward. Chest and hips are still square to the mat. So you should feel this big time to the outside of your left hip. Keep that foot flex, drive through your left heel. I know our chest and arms are tired from this week already, so holding a plank might be a lot today. So stay grounded through the breath. Take one more breath here. We're gonna rebend the knee, bring the knee through to the elbow, other elbow, and three-legged dog. Bend that knee, open the hip, and circle the ankle a couple times. Slowly release, come back through your down dog. Take the gaze forward to the hands and step the feet to the outside of your hands. So I'll rotate this way. So hands are on the floor, feet are wider than your hands. If you can get the hands onto the floor, great. If that's not available to you without super folding forward, go ahead and grab some bricks and then set them on whatever setting you need to have a flat hand on the earth. From here, just gently, I gotta get off the crack on my wood. Gently rock side to side, opening up through the hip flexors. Keep the hands completely grounded with the earth. So make sure we're not tenting the hands and lifting the palms. Stay really grounded here, whether that's on a brick or on your floor. Come back through center. We're gonna slowly lift the legs only to the point where you can without the hands coming off whatever surface they're on, and then fold over yourself. So if the knees are bent, that's okay. Focus on grounding through the hands. Take a couple more breaths here. Slowly start to tent the fingers. If they're on bricks, go ahead and set the bricks off to the side. Bring your hands to the earth. Ball heel step your feet together. And then one vertebra at a time, like a rag doll, slowly roll it all the way up. These next couple are going to be balance-based. So if you need to move to the wall, feel free. We're going to take the right foot into the right hand. So I normally grab opposite, but it's going to be same hand, same leg. Once you have the right foot in the right hand, push the hips forward, bring your knees together, and then slowly start to shift it back until that right thigh becomes parallel with the floor. Now what we want to avoid here is opening to the side. Keep your hips square to the floor. And now we're going to push the right foot into the hand and find a big opening through the shoulder, the chest, and the right quadricep. Again, avoid opening that hip to the side. Pull your hips down towards the floor. Slowly bring everything back up to center. Bring the right knee through, hug it into the chest, and again, circle through the ankle a couple times. We're going to really focus on giving the feet a lot of love because they're going to be doing the majority of the load bearing during this program. And slowly release. And we're going to switch sides. So left foot, left hand. Find your setup first. Knees together, hips driving forward. Slowly hinge from the hips while you keep your hips square to the floor. Once your thigh is parallel with the floor, start to push the foot into the hand to open up through the chest and the quadricep. Slowly, slowly bring everything back in. Sweep the left leg through, hug it into the chest. And release the foot down. Facing the long edge of your mat, hinge from the hips, fold forward. Place the fingertips on the earth or onto your bricks. Come into a flat back. And then slowly fold over yourself. We're going to take the hands under the feet. So go ahead and lift onto the heels. You're going to turn your hands so the palms are to the ceiling and take the hands all the way under the feet till your fingers are touching the arch, and then use your toes to drive the wrist into the earth. So from here, you might need to bend the knees to achieve this. So bend them as much as you need. Relax the head and neck, and then start to straighten out the legs and feel a nice big opening through the hamstrings. And then slowly walk the hands back out. Bend the knees and roll it all the way up. Go ahead and grab both bricks. We're going to place them to the top of the mat on the highest setting. Step your right foot right in between the bricks, so the bricks are about shoulder distance apart. And then step your left foot all the way back so you're in a nice big lunge. From here, let the left knee melt to the floor. So if you notice, the left knee's behind the hip, not directly under the hip. We're going to open up this psoas muscle, the hip flexor. Hands are on the bricks. Slowly start to drive the right knee towards the toes, and the left hip will kind of come along for the ride. And then press through the fingers to lift the chest. Now, if you sit for a living, which all of you do, this might feel really tight. So allow yourself to kind of settle. Maybe you need to lower back down and come onto a flat hand. But whatever you do, try to avoid coming back out of it. When we deal with the tissue and the joints, we kind of have to sit for a little bit to allow those joints to come under the pressure they need to become stronger. Think of time under tension like lifting heavier and heavier weights. The longer you sit in this stretch in the joint, the stronger that joint will become. So if you notice low back pain, hip pain, especially throughout this program, it's probably stemming from the psoas and through these joints. So these stretches are really good to do to help alleviate some of that pain. So as we sit here, avoid tension through the shoulders. Try to relax the upper body. I know it's a lot to try to find relaxation and stillness when the hip is really, really opening up here. But if you are a yogi, go ahead and just take that mental scan. Notice how the hip feels. And know that stretches are never meant to be extremely painful, but they're also not meant to be comfortable. So take a couple more breaths here. And because it was such an intense hip stretch, slowly start to back out. You might feel the hip along the way, so be gentle, listen to your body, whatever you need. And then pull the right foot back just behind the bricks. Set the bricks side by side on their lowest setting. We're gonna step the right foot to the outside of the leftmost brick and then drape your shin across the bricks. So you might need to adjust with the hand. So the right leg is gonna be higher than the rest of the body. So we're setting up for half pigeon in a traditional yoga. If the bricks make it too intense on the outside of the hip, ditch them and just keep your foot on the floor. So if staying lifted, you already feel the outside of that right hip stretching out, feel free to stay here. If you can, we're gonna work the hands to the floor. And if we can, we're gonna keep working until the forearms come all the way down. So again, if the bricks are not serving you and it's causing more pain than it is stretching, ditch the bricks, bring your legs straight onto the floor and allow that hip to open up. What we wanna focus on is keeping the hip square to the floor. So if you're not on the bricks, just make sure you're not jumping into that right hip. Lift up the right hip and keep both hips square to the fractional edge of your mat. Avoid putting tension in the upper body and in that right foot. So just let that right foot just fall to the floor. Slowly, if you brought yourself onto the forearms, walk yourself up. If your hands are on the earth, walk them to the bricks. Everybody presses to the outside edge of the right foot to release the leg and set your bricks off to the side. From here, sweep the right leg around, tuck the toe under and press through the heel, and then maybe just rock front to back to release all that through the leg and the hip. And then we're gonna do that same thing on the left. So slowly release that right leg in. Reset your bricks on their highest setting. This time the left foot will step through. Make sure the right knee is behind the hip, not under the hip. Find the deepest pose you can, and then go a little deeper by pressing that left knee towards the toes, keeping the hips square. And then if we can, we're gonna walk the hands up on tented fingers and press our chest up, taking the gaze straight in front of us. If lifting through the upper body makes it too much on the hip, always come back down to the hands, keep your gaze down, tuck the chin. But if you can, press into those bricks, lift your chest as much over the hips as you can. Keep driving that right hip forward. Find a big opening through that hip flexor. Take nice deep breaths. Nice job, Heather. Stay with it. I know that finding stillness can often be harder. In yoga, it's yin and yang. Yin is the stillness, yang is the flow. It's easier to flow. It's easier to move, to jump around, to throw weights around than it is to settle in our mind and in our bodies. I know Courtney right now is thinking, I don't want to be still. But that is where your body grows and recovers. And that is often the hardest thing. We live in a culture where we don't stop and just sit. We live in a culture where we eat on the go, we work on the go. So finding the stillness can be really hard. So as much as you can, try to be present. Don't be planning your groceries or your work after this. Keep scanning the body, see how it feels in the hip. Take one more breath, and then gently, gently, gently start to come back out of it. We're just gonna glide the left foot behind the bricks, set them on their lowest setting right next to each other. If you didn't use the bricks on the other side, just stitch them here. Step the left foot to the outside of those bricks and then melt that shin on top. Make any adjustments you need to get the leg up there. Re-square the hips. Hands start on the bricks, chest lifted. This is enough, you stay here. If you can, we work onto the hands. And if we can, we'll go all the way out onto the forearms. Nice job, Katie. Breathe through it. Relax through the shoulders. Lindsay's at home probably needing 4 blocks for her long legs. 2's not enough. If you worked your way onto the forearms, slowly walk up onto the hands. If you have the bricks under you, walk your hands up onto the bricks. Drop through the foot to release the knee. Kick the leg all the way back. Flex the foot and gently rock forward and back into it. Nice job, Cindy. And then slowly release. Okay, go ahead and set your bricks off to the side. We're gonna grab our foam rollers and move into the outside of the hip because we were just stretching it. So go ahead and place the foam roller about the mid of your mat, running parallel with the short edges. Go ahead and sit with one push onto that brick, lower onto the forearms. I said brick, I meant foam roller. You can keep both feet on the earth if that's more comfortable, or if you want to, you can always take the top leg and rest it on the leg that's on the foam roller. If you want to put a little more body weight, the more body weight you put into the foam roller, the more it's going to get into the muscles. And then from here, just gently roll forward and back. Make sure you're not on the actual hip bone laying on your side. You want to be on the tissue, on the muscles. So make sure the chest is slightly open. You actually feel it in the glute, which I can't stack my legs today after all these squats this week. This feels pretty intense. So we're only 2 days in, and I don't know about you guys, but my booty is really feeling this. All right, go ahead and find a spot that feels like, oh, I can't sit there. And then settle on that spot, and we're just gently gonna rock side to side. So we're keeping that tension, that body weight right in that spot. We're gonna decompress this buildup that's been happening over the past 2 days. And remember, Thursdays are actually the hardest day of the program. So we're gonna feel real good by tomorrow after doing all this, be ready to go again. And Courtney still gets to experience Monday unless she did it yesterday. She's got a lot coming still. Our week's almost over. Hers is just beginning. All right, hold. Breathe through it. No movement, just allow it to sit. And you might find that it's getting a little less painful the longer you sit in this muscle. That's a good thing. If it's still really tight, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just you're really, really sore and tight. And then if you can, let's just roll through a couple more times. And then slowly release. All we're gonna do is transition to the other side. So setup is the same, place it right underneath the glute. Lower down, make sure the hips are slightly rotated so we're on the actual glute, we're not on the hip bone on the outside. And then roll through. Nice job, Jerry. Breathe through it, Whitney. I'll give Amanda a little shout out. I don't know if she's on there, but she said she might be coming late. All right, find that spot that needs a little extra love, hold, and then gently just rock side to side. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Just something like when you're getting a massage and they're really digging into that knot that you need to work out. It's that same sensation. Foam rollers are the same as getting a massage. You just have to do it to yourself. You don't get to lay there and do nothing. All this buildup that causes pain in the fascia, that's what we're trying to get rid of. And then find the stillness and hold. Breathe through it. And then roll through just a couple more times. And slowly release and set your foam rock to the side. All right, we're gonna do a big chest opener, which I don't know about you guys, but my chest is probably the sorest part of my body this week. So we're gonna set, wherever you're like laying on your mat, you're gonna set a brick on its mid setting, right in between where your shoulder blades would lay. And then there's gonna be a brick, depending on your neck flexibility, it might be on its highest setting or it might be equal setting. That's just gonna be a pillow. So we'll probably have to make adjustments, but get them in the general area where we're gonna want them. So the one that is closest to you running parallel with the long edges of your mat, you're gonna place the edge right underneath the shoulder blades, not the rib cage. So make sure you skip the rib cage. And then you're gonna make sure it's right in between those shoulder blades. Reach back to grab the other brick, and you're just gonna place it underneath the back of the head to act as a pillow. So make any adjustments you need. Now, as far as the legs can stay bent. If it feels good to take a back bend here, you can extend them, or I personally like to just sit crisscross, but whatever feels good for your legs. Now for the arms to open the chest, we're gonna take them out from the shoulders like a T, which you might be like, oh, I already feel it, I'm gonna stay there. Or we can cactus shape them and let them just kind of float into the air and feel a big chest opening. Or if you can, we're gonna take them overhead, grabbing opposite elbows, resting them on the top of the head. So whatever variation feels like the biggest chest opener for you, take that arm variation and then allow yourself to just sink into the bricks and let gravity do all the work of pushing you closer to the floor. And know that it's okay if you went with arms overhead. If the shoulders start to tire out, you can go back, you can digress to either of the other options. But again, just take that scan, see how it feels, make any adjustments to make sure it feels like a stretch, but it's not causing injury or going past your point of stretch where it might hurt you later. Connective tissue is not like muscle. We can't stretch it past its limits. So if it feels uncomfortable, pick a different arm variation. Like I said, I know this is not a yoga class, but it's yoga inspired. So if your mind right now is planning what's happening after class, your to-do list, can we try to bring it back to the breath, back to the body? Allow yourself to buy out these times, not only to restore your body, but to restore your mind as well. We don't always get time to let the mind relax. We have two parts in our nervous system. We tend to only work the fight or flight response, which is what happens when we work out. Right now is the restorative, which is what helps us not stress out with our blood pressure, sleeping better. So really just try to focus on your breath. Keep wrapping the shoulders around that brick, opening up the chest. All right, so this is one of those that was inspired from Yin. So be really careful as we come out of this because we were focusing on the connective tissue and the fascia. So slowly bring your arms back in closer to the body. Let the forearms come down next to you. Tuck the chin to the chest, and then use your hands to gently lift yourself up and off your bricks. Go ahead and set one brick off to the side. We're gonna come into one of Heather's favorite stretches. I recommend not facing your camera or see all your goodies. Go ahead and come back onto your back. We're gonna bridge the hips up and slide the brick on its lowest setting right underneath your sits bones and your tailbone. So make sure it's not on the low back. It's actually supporting you in a little bit of a back bend here. Bring one knee into the chest at a time. You might need to adjust the brick. The brick should feel like just a wedge holding your hips up. At this point, you should feel no muscular engagement. Your abs, your hips, nothing are supporting you. The block is supporting you. And then from there, when you feel safe and secure, extend the legs up to the seam. For now, we're just gonna stay in this inversion, allowing all the old blood to flow out from these limbs and back towards the heart. If you feel like you have blood circulation issues, you can also reach the arms up, which will get all the old blood out of the arms as well. We're gonna keep the legs up, but gently just let them fall away from each other, and you'll feel a nice big stretch through the inner thighs. Just let them go off as natural as they can. Maybe if you're real flexible through the hips, you are doing a splits right now. If you want more, you can always place the hands on the inner thighs and use a little resistance to push the legs closer to the floor. Slowly start to bring the legs back together. Bending your knees soft. We're gonna stay on this brick, but bring the feet towards the floor and then slide them out straight. So now our hips are higher than our ankles and our heart. And then cactus shape the arms and take up space through the front side of the body. So every part of the front of the body is opening up. Chest, rib cage, hip flexors, quadriceps. So allow the rib cage to really splay open. Press through the hips into the brick. Find that back bend. And really open up through the front of the body. This is really good, especially for people who sit a lot. You're constantly contracting the front of the body and not letting it take up space. So if you notice lower back pain, hip pain after sitting for several hours, this might be a really good stretch to give the front side of the body some opening, some space. Take one more nice breath here. Bend the knees, placing the feet back onto the earth. Bring your arms down by your side, bridge your hips up and slide the brick out from underneath of you. One vertebra at a time, unravel back to the floor. Gently hug the knees into the chest and rock side to side, massaging your low back. In a way that feels good for you, go ahead and roll it all the way up into tabletop. We're going to use our body to do a little foam rolling here. So coming into tabletop, go ahead and extend your right leg. You're going to bend the knee and place your right shin right on top of your left calf muscle. So your right shin is basically going to be the foam roller. All you're going to do is place it right in the calf where it might feel extra sensitive from all the jumping, and then just sit into it and come forward. So the more you push the right leg into the left, the more intense this will be. If you have really tight calves, this might feel pretty intense just by resting the leg on there. And you might need to adjust. Maybe it needs to be lower on the calf or higher on the calf. But use that right shin bone and your body weight pushing into it to massage that left calf muscle. Your posterior chain fires up big time with all the jumping we've been doing, especially Monday's class. So your calves might be really tight. You might notice that if you're not even a runner, you start to get shin splints and the calves get sore. That's from all the jumping. So the next time you sit back whole, really try to sit all the way onto the heel if you can, letting that right shin just really push into that left calf, releasing all that buildup. Breathe through it. And know, especially if your shins are tight, this is not, or your calves are tight, this is not comfortable, so breathe. Take one more breath here, and then slowly bring yourself back forward. Release, and we'll do the same on the other side. So bring up that left leg, bend it. The shin goes right on the middle of that calf. And then we sit back and come forward. Again, make any adjustments. You might notice the lower part of the calf is where it's really tender, or maybe it needs to be up higher. Place the leg where you need it on your right leg. The next time you sit back, hold, and try to sit all the way onto that hip if you can, or onto the heel if you can. Really push that shin into that calf. Allow it to be uncomfortable, and then breathe through it. Take one more breath. And then slowly release. Let's take one down dog just to stretch out the calves one more time. You might notice maybe after just even that little bit that your heels can get closer and closer to the floor as we open up through the calves, the ankles, the hamstrings. Take one breath in your down dog. Take the gaze forward, let your knees melt to the floor. Cross the ankles behind you to have a seat. We're almost done. We've made it to our last two stretches. This is where you're going to need your yoga strap. So if your yoga strap is looped from previous workouts with me, go ahead and unloop it and come all the way onto your back. We'll start with the right leg. So bend your right knee and place the strap around the ball of the right foot, and then extend the foot up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and extend your left leg out long. And then from here, we're gently going to pull the right leg closer towards the chest, drive through the heel so you feel a nice big opening through that hamstring. Place your left hand on the left hip and use that to ground you so the left hip doesn't lift as we slowly let the right leg fall off to the right side. So make sure that left hip's not leaving the floor, it's staying grounded, so stay within your range of motion. Keep driving through that right heel. So you feel a big opening through the groin, through the inner thigh. Slowly bring it back up. All you're going to do is exchange the strap into the left hand. Take your right arm out like a T and now let the leg fall across the body. So as you let that leg fall across, make sure the right arm and shoulder stay grounded with the earth, and then pull the leg up closer to be in line with the chest until you feel a nice big stretch to the outside of the hip and through the hamstring. Bend the knees softly to slowly release. And we'll do that exact same thing on the other side. So releasing the strap, place it around the left foot. Extend your right leg out. Pull the leg closer to the chest to start so you feel the hamstring already starting to stretch. Right hand on right hip. And then let the left leg fall off to the left side without the right hip coming off the floor. Keep driving through that heel. So this is not a passive stretch. This is a very active stretch through the inner thigh. I'll tell you, it would be a really nice schedule is if Encova gives us our Fridays back, to do the HIIT workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and have Tuesday, Thursdays for mobility and recovery. Slowly bring the leg back up, keep it nice and straight, take the strap into the other hand, extend the left arm and let it cross the body. Once it's across the body, gently pull it so it's more in line with the chest as much as you can. Stay grounded through your left arm and through the shoulder. Slowly bring the knee in, bend the knee, set your strap off to the side. Final stretch on each side, figure 4. So place the left ankle on the right thigh, reach through, hug the right knee into the chest. As you pull the right knee in, keep driving the left knee away so you feel a big stretch to the outside of your left hip. If you need even more, you can take the left hand to the inside of the knee and gently press that knee away. Or you can gently just rock onto the right hip so your left hip is actually floating, and that'll deepen the stretch as well. Slowly bring it back in, switch sides. As you pull the left knee in, push the right knee away. And slowly bring it back to center. Release the legs and roll it all the way up. Awesome job. So we did a lot of stuff deep into the muscles. So just like a massage therapist would tell you, make sure you drink lots of water to get rid of all this junk we just worked out of the body. Flush it out, flush it out. And then tomorrow we have a combination of Monday and Tuesday's class. So get ready to work hard. So until tomorrow, Powell family, be well.